Tell me what you see.
I look at you and tell you what I feel. Look at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what I feel.
Welcome back. Today we'll be starting a whole new series of films, and holy crap is the Puppetmaster series, a long and complicated one, spanning 13 movies, with one coming out this year and one next year. So it surprises me that although it's kind of considered a cult classic, it's never been held in the same regard as, say, a Hellraiser, and certainly not a Nightmare on Elm Street. But who knows? The first film might be some kind of hidden jewel in a crown. Yeah, don't hold your fucking breath.
The film begins with the iconic, well, I assume it's iconic, Puppetmaster theme, an incredibly slow opening credits over pictures of the different puppets' faces, with a camera effect that gives me glaucoma just from watching it for the 2.5 agonizing minutes. Our main location for the film, and the series overall, is a hotel called the Bodega Bay Inn. And strangely, we start our story in 1939, a date which won't make much sense as we get further into the series. And the film doesn't disappoint with its title, as we see a living puppet watching outside a window, while the titular Puppetmaster works on another puppet, Jester, who is one of the 3 main puppets.
3 minutes, and I've already said puppet so many times it's lost all meaning. Our Puppetmaster is a man named André Toulon. Think of him as Philippe Le Marchand of Hellraiser, mixed with Reanimator's Herbert West. And depending on which film you see, he's more of one than the other.
While Toulon continues his work, the camera gets a bit Evil Dead, speeding around the hotel grounds. It's supposed to be one of the puppet's perspectives, but no one even acknowledges its presence. Almost like it's just a guy running around with a camera. Back in the room, Toulon has finished his latest puppet and will now perform the ancient and mysterious ritual to bring it to life.
Life on my life. Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah, that's seriously all that's required.
A big deal is made about Toulon's secret and how it's some kind of ancient Egyptian ritual, but as you just saw, there's nothing resembling that in the ritual or the entire goddamn film. We're just told it's ancient, Egyptian, and complex. Puppetmaster seemingly made before the rule show don't tell.
Anywho, with everything seemingly peaceful, the film disturbs that somewhat, with 2 surprise Nazis. Yep, there are Nazis in this for whatever reason. The puppet at the window and the one outside have already spotted them, and Toulon appears remarkably calm about the whole thing. Our POV puppet continues to run to the room, still being ignored by everyone. Also, there's this moment.
Who decided to give the slapstick Looney Tunes sound effects to the homicidal puppet that will kill several people? What kind of horror film goes out of its way to make its creatures less intimidating?
POV puppet reaches the hotel room, but not before freaking someone out, which should have happened much sooner, as we finally see the series' most iconic puppet, Blade, and he reacts like this. Toulon carefully packs away all the puppets and hides them in the wall, just before the Nazis enter, but it seems Toulon is one step ahead of them and takes matters into his own hands.
Now, there was a hell of a lot going on there, but almost none of which had anything to do with the film. All we needed to know was that Toulon had living puppets and he shot himself in the head. The rest, like the Nazi assassins or the fact that the puppets were hidden away, never mentioned again. Now, I appreciate world building and setup for sequels, but by not linking it to this film, it just makes it pointless filler. Brevity is the soul of wit, after all.
We then move to an undetermined present day to Yale University as we meet our first main character, Alex, who looks like a combination of David Icke and Gary Oldman from the beginning of Dracula. But even weirder than Alex's appearance is the fact that he is a psychic.
And not the usual money-grubbing exploitative arsehole we call psychics. In the Puppetmaster universe, psychics are 100% reality. Which certainly explains why no one reacted to puppets running around, since this weird shit goes on all the time.
Speaking of which, Alex shows his psychic abilities through his vision of a man telling him he can't save a woman being held at gunpoint. And then Alex starts bleeding from his stomach, finding leeches attached to him. You might ask what it all means. Well, in the scheme of things, not much. We then move to a carnival and meet the fortune teller Dana, who's giving a couple a reading, and surprisingly, the woman she's talking to is none other than Barbara Crampton. But this isn't a Stuart Gordon film, so at least she's free from molestation by supernatural creatures.
It is weird, though, that Barbara Crampton is possibly the highest profile actress in this film. You'd be hard-pressed to recognise anyone else. Yet she's relegated to the role of Woman at Carnival. Yeah, after this, you'll never see her again.
After an incredibly fortunate reading for an incredibly gullible woman, we get to the point of the scene, which is Dana's future premonition of her own possible death. It's really all that's needed from this scene. Well, I say needed, but not really. We're then introduced to more characters, scientists Frank and Karissa, and let's see what field they study.
I want you to recreate in your mind your wildest sexual fantasy.
Wow! Now that type of research would get more funding. So yeah, Frank and Karissa here are both psychics. Yeah, they're crawling out the fucking woodworks. Their particular ability centers around sex and sexual experiences, either from people or objects. Which is an ability so useful, I can't think of a single practical use for it, apart from saving money on porn subscriptions. The experiment, or psychic orgy if you will, isn't great, because Frank picks up the fantasies, while looking like a right sleazy motherfucker, but Karissa doesn't sense anything. However, the fun in this largely irrelevant scene is cut short by a phone call from Alex. They both confirm that they've received a psychic message from a man named Gallagher, going even further by telling Alex that Gallagher has discovered the Puppetmaster's secret and is requesting a meeting.
And none of this is weird to anyone continually. They just casually discuss psychic abilities and the power of resurrection and bringing objects to life. It's not really the best introduction to your audience when you answer their blank, confused expressions with just a shrug and, meh, this is normal, no need to explain it. So as soon as you can say, get to the fucking puppets, all our psychics meet at the Bodega Bay Inn, where they're greeted by Ona and Gallagher's wife, Megan, who informs the others that Gallagher is dead, as they see his body, and rather strangely, he died via suicide, shot in the head, just like Toulon, with strict instructions not to be buried before the others got there. So far, so weird, but to make things worse, Frank, Karissa and Dana stay behind with the body, though not to pay their respects, as Dana has an unconventional method for checking if someone is dead. Well, if he wasn't dead, he sure as shit is now. What happened to the old mirror under the nose trick? That's far simpler and doesn't contain the possibility of murder. Everyone is given a room for the night, and Dana goes about cleansing hers of bad juju. I would normally dismiss her actions, but who the hell knows anymore? She also scares off the housekeeper with it, telling her to stay away from the fireplace, which will be important soon. But before she buggers off, she has a little bit of a nosy moment peeping through the keyhole into Dana's room, finding that amongst her belongings, she also has a dead and stuffed dog with her. For what purpose, I'm not really sure, but I guess she could use Toulon's secret to put a bit of a spring in its step. I do get the feeling that I've got a different film here. I thought this was Puppetmaster, not Psychics Do the Wackiest Things. I get that Puppetmaster is biding its time and building up to the moment, but it does just feel like a different film, and not a particularly good one either.
Back with Alex, he's having his own psychic moment, continuing on from the last one, seeing Gallagher and Megan dancing, with him wearing a mask. Because why the hell not? It's hard to make psychic visions filler in a movie, but this is getting close. Frank and Karissa are shown to their room via the elevator, and it doesn't take long for Karissa to go mental and see a vision of Gallagher sexually assaulting a woman. But as an added bonus, we see Gallagher's acting ability.
Boy, isn't it fortunate that the guy's dead and won't be returning ever again to inflict his acting on us?
And I should say that Karissa is a psychometrist, but she only seems to get sex visions, which basically leaves her bumping and grinding on things like an idiot, demonstrated again by her visions of celebrities having sex on the bed. It's all just to raise the softcore porn level of the film and has nothing to do with the plot. Because let's be honest, there's not much fucking else going on for this shite. Moving on to the goddamn point of this film, a puppet appears finally. However, rather annoyingly, this particular puppet is called Pinhead. For obvious reasons. Why was he in the coffin? And how did everyone miss that? So many questions. Elsewhere, everyone is sat down for dinner and Dana can't help asking about Gallagher and Megan's marriage, being as bitchy as her accent is strong. She's informed that Gallagher married Megan after her parents died and started renovating the hotel, until he suddenly stopped, and became consumed by his work. However, the meal is cut short when Dana asks whether Gallagher married her for her money, and due to some previous grievances with Gallagher, the psychics plan to get what they are owed, leading to Megan walking away. Once all the exposition is done, the puppets start killing, as the housekeeper ignores Dana's advice and tends to the fireplace. She's pulled away from it when the piano makes a noise, and once she returns...
It's actually really telling that the first kill of the entire series was so incredibly dull and underwhelming. Nothing about that made the puppet necessary at all. Seriously, how has this series gotten so many sequels when this is how it started? Well, I have my theories, but we'll continue for now.
The freakiness continues as a scream is heard and Megan is now passed out. Not because of the dead housekeeper, but because Gallagher's body was moved and propped up in a chair. Now, normally, these people should consider fucking off immediately, but not Puppetmaster. They just stick him back in the coffin and continue their business, with Alex making sure Megan is okay once she wakes up. Shall we actually start getting to the point? Oh, for fuck's sake. No, because Karissa can't stop flicking one off at every opportunity. Come on, Puppetmaster. We all know you don't have much going for yourself, but can we at least focus a little bit? However, to get to some horror for once, the film gets a bit sinister, as Frank disappears and Karissa has to get out of the tub to investigate. You can tell what's going to happen. Either she's suddenly attacked by something, or it'll be your classic fake out. Yeah, it's safe to say not much can surprise me anymore.
Get the hell out of...
What the fuck, Puppetmaster? Why can't you be a little normal for once?
Meanwhile, Dana performs a protection ritual on her own door and Alex himself, but it'll be apparent she should have included herself in that. Alex finds a whole manner of protections waiting for him in his room, which seems to work somehow, as we get a puppet POV of it running around for a bit and then pissing off. It's then right back to the nymphomaniacs, who begin what they claim is a ritual to contact Gallagher, but to me just looks like kinky sex, especially with Frank tied to the bed. At the door, a new puppet, Tunneler, appears to end the festivities, as Karissa sees the door is open, and after looking under the bed...
Well, now she's been drilled many... No, joke's too easy. But how did that kill her exactly? I understand a drill to the face isn't pleasant at all, but how is it fatal? And we will see later that there's very little damage other than the cosmetic.
And now comes quite possibly the most random puppet in the entire cast of creatures, because the puppets have had tools and implements to cause death. But then there's Leech Woman, So named since she vomits up leeches in order to kill.
So, again, how is that fatal? But who the fuck knows? They're leeches vomited from the mouth of a puppet. But I think the main issue here is, who thought bladed puppet, burly puppet, drillhead puppet, and then, oh, yes, of course, leech vomiting puppet? That just doesn't make any sense. That's just a random collection of things with no cohesion. And wow, isn't that the perfect description for Puppetmaster?
But at least the film is picking up the goddamn pace, as Dana gets into her room to find that Gallagher has shown up again. Dana's not fazed by it and just goes about pointlessly waving shit around him, convinced she actually did something there. But that's when Pinhead shows up for the most awkward fight scene I've ever seen. First damaging her ankle, then strangling her, before getting chucked across the room. And trust me, this chase/fight scene goes on for an excruciatingly long time, as Dana crawls around the place. Pinhead gets a few hits in, but is chucked away again, and it's just so damn annoying to watch. Not helped by the puppet effects that the camera has to continue cutting around to keep them convincing. Eventually, Blade joins the chase, and well, it's just ended pretty quickly after that. Oh, and then Jester does this. Thanks for that, Jester. You're a real integral part of the story.
The fact that 3 of the 4 main characters have been killed off in the space of like 5 minutes shows that this film has some serious goddamn pacing issues. If they'd have just spaced that out a bit and trimmed down all the pointless bollocks, you'd have a far more condensed and better paced story. But you gotta drag it out to that feature-length finish line, I guess.
Well, considering he's the last man standing, it's time for Alex to act. No, not really. He's woken up by Megan, who is desperate to show him something important, and she tells him about the link between Gallagher's death and Toulon's. However, when they get to the Puppet Master's old room, things get weird, as it's the room from Alex's dream, which just happens again, with the continued gunpoint threat to Megan, until Alex wakes up to something unexpected.
What's happening, Alex?
At least he got woken up with some good head. God damn it, Puppet Master, with these ridiculously easy jokes. It's just not fun if you keep throwing these slow balls at me. Have some dignity, for God's sake.
Once Alex is definitely awake, Megan appears again as the dream happens for real, with Alex obviously uneasy. However, this time when they get to the room, it's just a disused hotel room full of Gallagher's research, and excerpts from Toulon's diary, claiming that the puppets are harmless, but can be used for evil purposes.
I love them like all my other children, like my other puppets. They mirror the soul of their master, and with me they are harmless, but I fear what they are capable of if placed in the wrong hands.
Which is all fine and dandy saying that, but when you make a puppet with a drill on its head, and one with a hook and a blade, and later in the series we'll see a 6-armed cowboy with working guns, it's hard to see how they can be used for anything other than attacking people.
Suddenly, Alex gets another vision, this time of Gallagher sitting with a gun looking to shoot himself, but then he shoots Alex, snapping him out of it, and causing him and Megan to start running, for some unknown reason. But we do see them descend every frickin' set of stairs, though. The film's desperate to extend that runtime, aren't they? Eventually, they reach the dining room to find everyone already there waiting, very dead. And yeah, as I said earlier, you can see Karissa's only wounds are directly to her face. So, how did she die like that? And now, finally, Gallagher shows up alive and well. Technically, at least. He's something more akin to undead, because despite never being seen or mentioned by Toulon at all, his ritual is somehow able to bring people back from the dead, not just animate puppets. Gallagher also says that he killed the others because they would have discovered what he did eventually.
Which I can't quite see his logic there. Mainly because the psychics only got there because of the deliberate summons he sent them. So, for all intents and purposes, they never would have found out and he could have done whatever he wanted.
Gallagher's also sick of experimenting on puppets, implying he's going to use the newly acquired bodies instead. He then makes a fatal error in throwing Jester on the floor, because they might be bloodthirsty killing machines at the beck and call to whatever psychopath wants to use them. Just don't go chucking them about. They'll take it personally. Oh, and don't hit women. That's their job. The film seems to want to make the puppets into honourable creatures forced to do the bidding of evil people, but they did seem to enjoy the pointless killing before. It just doesn't make much sense to me, really. Gallagher beats Alex as he continues to display his fabulous acting, but Megan hits him with a vase as they both run. They're stopped by the previously dead housekeeper, who subsequently disappears from the film completely, and then Gallagher and Alex start fighting again, with the puppets trapping Gallagher inside the elevator. And he, for some bizarre reason, now thinks that in order to be evil, you have to whisper a lot.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Open that door, you fucking little cretin.
It's really annoying. The puppets then proceed to kill and tear him apart while Alex and Megan watch. And like most things in this film, it's badly shot, annoying, and goes on for far too long. Shall we finish the movie? So yeah, after everything is resolved, Alex says goodbye to Megan, and as she walks up the stairs, we see her reanimate the dog, showing she now somehow has Toulon's abilities. Not that it matters, really. So yeah, that was the first Puppetmaster film. And for such a long and enduring series, it was really goddamn disappointing. There's really nothing here that you can't get in any other horror. It's a completely standard affair, and the only thing that makes it stand out in any way is the fact the puppets are so recognisable. And that's why I think the series keeps going, because without the puppets, this series is dead in the water. The story is weak, the effects are weak, and the characters, my god, the characters, who are either incredibly annoying and bitchy, too busy fucking to engage in the plot, or in Alex's case, completely useless. For the apparent hero of the piece, he has the personality of wet lettuce and is twice as useless. You could take him out of the film entirely and not change a thing. So, 1 down, 12 to go. Jesus, is it going to be fun. Thank you very much for watching. And to all who support me on Patreon, a big thank you to you as well. And I will be getting to your requests shortly. I just needed to sink my teeth into a franchise first. So yeah. See you next time.